we always all fall into the trap of the great talking head format.
What's the great talking head format?
It's just, hi, my name is, I work at Wazobia. Deep in your heart, as a person who makes stories in a company, you know you could be writing your film. You know in your heart of hearts that you want to write films. Use the company money. And there's also this thing where like startups think that like media is not their job. And it's always funny. I think we need more startups who take their stories and the narrative about them as seriously as they take product updates.
Welcome to the Wave podcast by Flutter Wave. In my opinion, the most down-to-earth podcast out there right now. We're going past the products and the tech to meet the people behind them. They're unfiltered, funny, free, exciting, and happy to be themselves and spar ideas. We make you feel like you're meeting them for the first time. I'm your host, Timi Anako. Let's ride the wave. Today, we have a very special episode for you. Here with me in the studio, we have one of the insiders.
Insider is an interesting word.
The major insiders in fintech or tech, basically. He is, I like to think of him as a puppeteer, creating stories, weaving things together from behind the scenes, and presenting it for the world to see in different media formats, print, video, you name it.
I swear, if you were not reading, I would have said it's a prompt. Puppeteer.
No, but this is not any. This is not.
No, I know. I'm like,
Okay.
I'm like, if to say like they read them, I was saying it's not prompt now.
Okay.
Puppeteer is quite a lot, but insider is also quite a lot. But okay.
Okay, we won't put you on blast that much.
Yeah.
He's the founder of. Let me get this right. Archivi.
Oh my god.
Archivi.ng.
No, archiving.
Archivi.
We thought we're bright when we called it archiving, but like half of the word is like Archivi, Archivi.ng, Archivi.
No, I mean I can see the idea behind it, but
Yeah,
it's not, everything is .ng somewhere.
Yeah, the Shege has been a lot, but yeah.
You walk us through it. He's also the current editor-in-chief at Tech Cabal.
I always feel the need to say interim. Mostly because like I have a very, very specific assignment.
Okay.
And I'm in a hurry not in a hurry, like but like I feel the need to like really get it done. And then I guess fired.
Okay. That's it. Interesting way of looking at things.
Or get useless, and they're like, why do you pay this guy?
Somebody can do it.
Yeah.
AI?
No, definitely not AI.
AI.
I wish it was AI. Actually, I do not wish it was AI. But yeah, someone will be able to do it one day, and yeah.
Okay.
Happy to be here.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have the Fu'ad Lawal.
Oh, mad, Fu'ad Lawal.
He's so comfortable. How are you feeling?
I think pumped.
If you haven't guessed already, Fuad is a storyteller.
Mad. Mad.
One of the deepest in the game right now.
You do sound like. Have you ever promoted an artist before?
No, they told me to though.
Yeah, you have the promoting artist aura. Yeah.
Called on Jazzy or somebody, Like I said, great man theory. So during this session today, we're going to be exploring the essence of stories, why or how stories have shaped what we see everywhere, beyond tech, even in culture. Why is it important that we keep these stories? Why is it important that we keep telling these stories? So I want to start with you. Growing up, I used to read a lot of Enid Blyton based on stories. I think that's what most people are from my
I read Enid Blyton, so a lot of them.
Right. So, but, beyond Tortoise and the Hare and all those things, stories were how we learned a bunch of things. You come to class, they tell you a story about something, history, maybe art or culture somewhere. So I want to ask you how you got into storytelling, and you're like, okay, this is something that can be done in a way that is seen can be seen differently from different aspects, different lenses. So I want to ask you how you got into it.
Okay, so I think like all of us, right? We all consumed stuff as kids, and then we try to make our own standard, right? So my mom grew up on books, lots of them, and she felt the need to transmit that tradition directly to me. So she grew up on Pacesetters, so I read a lot of Pacesetters. She grew up on Mallory Towers.
Okay.
Ellen Blyton.
Ellen Blyton.
I read every Mallory Towers before I entered GS1.
Wow. Deep bag.
So like I was also a very, very hyperactive kid. But the only thing that seemed to like keep me still was like books or action movies. But like the story just has to lock me in.
Okay.
Right? I remember very well that I have a very, very specific memory of my mom. And I remember that story because I remember the confusion and frustration and pride. I didn't really understand it then, but I guess now the way my brain has revised the memory is that she was very frustrated, but she was also very proud. She bought me a book. So there was this thing where I'd have a reading list. I'd give it to my dad. He'd go to the markets. My dad is working in Idumota, and he'd buy me all the books on the list, and then I'd read them. Sometimes my mom would bring a book, and they brought like this really big book. Can't remember the name now, but it was a collection of short stories.
Okay, one of those.
They brought it at night. It's a holiday. Next day, I read it all day. And when they came back, I was like, I finished it. They're like, it's a lie. They're like, no. And they started asking me stuff. And I'm like, this didn't happen. And like, I want another one. And they were like, God. Because my mom was a civil servant, my dad was a trader. Like, God of mercy. We are going smart. But so yeah, that I read a lot of books. And I think the very, very nature of like the creative process for everyone is like consume and it's like you start to like tell yourself that I think I can also make this thing. Like I can really, really try.
Right.
And then you try to write your own. Of course, it's bad, but it lies to you. I believe it, so you keep trying. So I think as a kid, it was I consumed a lot of stories, but I think then there's the messy teenage years, boarding house, military school. Nobody really has time for that nonsense. You're trying to dodge Koboko, so no time to be writing book anyway.
Fairs.
It's so funny because like I have a memory of writing a book with a friend. Hope it never sees the light of day.
Wait, you had written actual books? And
it's stupid.
No, what kind of books though?
So there's just like stories. So it's this thing where I inherited a Street Fighter 2 Turbo. So Ryu, Ken. Okay. And I wrote backstories for all of them.
Oh, like fanfic.
Yeah. I wrote backstories for all of them. So fan fiction was not even a concept that was rude to me then because it didn't exist in my world. Like first time I encountered comics, my first intro to comics was Super Strikers. Nobody was going to buy me that shit. Because first of all, it's like you tell your Nigerian parents to buy you something that has very few pages. But they can buy something that has like 300 pages.
Something they'll see with you.
So that also my mom did not grow up on comics, so she did not feel the need to pass it down to me. She was in school. Yeah, so lots of like writing fan fiction. Just like I think I wrote a lot as a child. Then stopped for a long time. Then like it was not grief. Grief was my reintroduction. When my mom died.
Oh man. And
everybody was like diving clothes and diving everything. And me, I just sunk into it. It's like therapy or stories. and then next thing one day it became a thing of people like I'm trying to apply for jobs and I look at jobs based on my degree.
Which was?
Industrial chemistry.
Oh my God.
And I'm like seeing like 30K. I'm seeing like something story writer. I'm seeing like 80K. I'm like, and I think the choice was very easy. After that, I literally was like, you know what? I'm going to go the HSC path or the writer path. Anything that comes back first is what I'm going to do. Yes. And then I landed a job as a writer at Pulse. My first 9 to 5, and everything else just went from there. But yeah, it was. I think that. I also think in many ways that when I think of like the writers I admire, like my people I consider my peers that are writers I admire. By peers, I don't mean like skill level. I mean like.
So what level do you mean?
Maybe age bracket of plus or minus 5 years.
Demographic.
Because like, so one of my favorite writers now is like Okpei Adedeji. I don't think there's I don't know what version of the present I'd write as well as Okpei. Like realistically. Because Okpei has just been writing since she could walk. Wow. She had dexterity, she did write. In my head, that's how Okpei is. And I have a bunch of writers in my life like storytellers in my life like that. They're just really, really good at their formats. But like I do think that like for the most part, I got better at stories by doing them a lot.
Right.
By sharing them with people and by just consuming a lot of people. Yeah.
Seems like you're a product of community.
Oh right? Yeah, like huge fan of I'm a huge. I know we say all these cute things, but me, I believe in people die stupidly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So from what you said, is either books that could keep you still or action movies.
Yeah.
Right. So now is that still the same for you, or has your taste evolved beyond that in terms of consuming content?
Significantly.
Okay.
So I think that the biggest change that happened to my consumption from when I was a child and now, it's a problem in a sense, but it's that I don't know how to not study. I'm a little, for lack of a better word, terrified of feeling like, yes, I've cracked it. So I'm always looking out for all the ways I haven't cracked it. So I'm a very, very heavy consumer. Like even stuff I don't really like. And I now study a lot.
Yeah. What about music? Why I ask this is because with storytelling, I feel like music does a lot in conveying emotions and maybe context, at times even more than dialogue, or to symbolize something, right, in storytelling. So what about music? How do you think about music?
So from a consumption standpoint, my playlist is just whatever I'm feeling. And let me give you a sense of what's on my playlist.
Okay.
There's always an Ashake song on my playlist in the last 3 years. There's always Phoebe. So I can go like from Ashake to Phoebe Bridgers. So it does turn out that I like depressed white women is the genre.
Lana Del Rey.
Phoebe Bridgers, Florence and the Machine. Those are my people. But like there's also like Obongjaya in there. There's Charlie Poppy, God, Uzama Supremacy. Like so that's my playlist.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's mostly whatever I'm feeling at the moment. But there are a couple of people I find I will go to when I'm trying to activate a mood. Phoebe Bridgers, Bon Iver.
Sad mood.
I swear, like for the creative process, like I think just a little bit of depression.
Okay.
Just a little bit.
Is that what you're advocating?
Then it's like productivity, a little bit of anger. And next thing you just hear Mama sent a photo. Mama sent a photo. Mama sent a photo. It's like
I guess you go. That's good. Especially the response about having a wide, because I think as people, we're not supposed to be one-dimensional, or, you look at somebody and say, oh, this person, he is bald, he must be into Fuji music or something, or maybe
I
it's
grew up
a
on Fuji
1%.
though. Shit on Fuji.
No, Fuji is cool.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
I mean, when you say Fuji is cool, now I'm like, that's such a, yeah, that's such a 2020. Like Fuji was, my god, like because as a kid, right? Saturday mornings, depending on who got to the tape first, the radio, the stereo, whatever, we either listen to Kwamon All Morning or Barista.
I have no idea who those people are.
Mad. K1 the Ultimate. What's you and Inde Marshall? You know?
I know what's you.
Yeah, that's Kwamon.
Okay.
So Barista is Secure and the Barista. That's like he gets the credit as being the pioneer for Fuji music, as we know it. Fuji Garbage. Like these are people that toured before any of us were born. They're touring. Like Kwamon walked into a booth in Berlin, freestyled, and he sold 1 million copies.
That was deep.
Do you know how ridiculous like that is? Nah.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Come on, nah. Yeah.
what about comics? Do you get into comics?
Outside Super Strikers, I never really got into anyone.
Wow.
And that's simply because the Super Strike, like I said, Super Strikers is that you buy fuel in Texas. As a kid, all I had to do to get Super Striker was just convince my parents to stop
go
at
to
Texaco to buy fuel. Because we get a free Super Strikers comic.
That's actually your range being for comics being Super Strikers.
Yeah, it's like, for example, now, right? So I'm married to a like comics nerd. There's literally a wall in our house, just like comics. That's just like okay. So for example, whenever like there's a new movie, she's the one that has the backstory
to it.
She like she's already familiar with the characters. I mean, I need like 1 or 2 YouTube videos. For example, Mr. Terrific, I had to watch like 2, I think Looper on one other channel to know who Mr. Terrific was, but she already knew this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't like, again, comics is most likely you get a middle from the hostel. Maybe when boys are trafficking, in between all the things we are trafficking, one of it just happens to be a comic. So gargoyles. I read gargoyles. These things that were stolen and then turned into like
those demon kind of creatures. Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't really grow up in comics and like in our household. Yeah.
That's cool. Everybody's different. And it's the difference.
He's just there like, you know what? Like, we will accept you.
Yeah.
You're also a person. Your experiences matter.
No, because to me, I'm just thinking your comic range being Super Strikers.
As a kid, yes.
Wow. I'm trying not to judge.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Fine.
Let's stay on. Let's not go back there. Okay. So, one of the things we've seen now is the need for history, right? Memory when you're talking about stories, because truth about stories is it had to happen before, and then it's the lessons that we get. You know, things like, I'm trying to remember the name. I saw it in Suits. I can't remember the name, but let's say Tortoise and the Hare, or all those things that we learn. Aesop's fables, things that we learn stuff from, right? Memories of, let's say, people that have experienced things in life. Our parents, when they sit us down, tell us things. We're supposed to learn from it, right? So I want to ask now that, what do you think is lost when, you know, in tech, the startups coming up, or the already established big boys, right? What happens when people don't preserve like these memories of things that they went through or stories that they had encountered?
So first of all, right, I think one of the biggest symptoms of Nigerian amnesia is our obsession of being the first. So like, oh, the first company to do X, the first this to do Y. I think that's one of the clearest symptoms. But what really happens is that it's actually bad for our understanding of progress when we don't like know the stories. I'll explain. In 2014, the biggest debates, maybe top 2 biggest debates in tech, was pay on delivery or pay online. That was the biggest debate.
That
Like,
was Jumia,
yeah,
wasn't it?
it was such a big, like, if you on the TL or whatever platforms, people were always debating it. So I remember there was this case where some people ordered an iPhone in Port Harcourt and Juma guy delivered it. And like he just never returned like to the office, and they were like, well, where is this guy? And 3 days later, apparently they had killed him and thrown him in the water tank or something like that. But like that was a technology question having real ripple effects in real life, right? I think that it's very easy now to open your phone, try to order something on Child Deck, and just click pay, and it just happens. And it's so easy to forget that all it took was a decade, right?
Right.
And so, like, in many ways, right, when I think about like why stories are important, it's actually because of optimism. It's like, oh, if it took this long to get here, one way is because of optimism. If it took this long to get here, maybe this is why this is taking so much time. Maybe this needs more effort. Maybe this approach or that approach, and so on and so forth. Like till tomorrow, if you're starting a business, one thing doesn't change: your first customers. If you cannot raise money from your family and friends, the chances you succeed is very, very low. And the idea is the same in almost every context. Like, Jesus didn't announce that he had come, and it might feel weird, like making a Jesus analogy, but I do think that 2,000 years ago, the most revolutionary thing to do would have been like to start a religion. But these days is to literally start a company or movement, because those are some of the most impactful things in our lives. They literally shape like very few things shape our lives the way technology companies do. In fact, our habits and everything, which is what religion did 2,000 years ago. But like he did it. You can say his family and friends around was turning water to wine, right?
Right.
Like, oh, okay, this is something to be taken seriously. Even in the context of Islam, it's about the same thing. Did this massive brunch, gathers his family and friends, tells them like, yo, you guys, it's like this thing we're going to do. Did he even really, really have a name for it? Just the idea, like, oh, Islam, like Allah, we should not worship all the gods and everything. And they're like, and the vibe is like, we're not really saying it yet, clearly, but we believe in you. So we'll back you. Same concept, the family and friends around. And I think stories help us like see patterns also.
Yeah.
Helps us see the arc. To be very, very honest, like having a good myth helps you get out of bed every morning. When I think of even Flutterwave, for example, in the context of stories, I think that a big part of what was driving many people, like in those very, very early years, because they're mostly like super young. How does Nasa? How does Ted? How does Hamza? All these people. But was like the books they were reading and the movies they were watching. It's like, oh my, these guys, these social network guys. Me too. Next thing you know, 2 weeks I don't sleep. So I really think that from a like myth making, storytelling is critical for myth making, and myth making is critical for identity.
Right.
So for example, and you can think of this in any context, in the context of even like say Nigerian music. If you think of Nigerian music as something that just became a global phenomenon a decade ago, like it just robs you of an interesting amount of like opportunity, and perspective. Like until you hear that like long before like Burna Boy was touring Europe, Stereo Man was touring Europe, Wasiu was touring Europe, Sonali was touring Europe. Like I'm reading stories about a Sunny Ade and Fela beef in early times, 1980 something. Do you understand? Like it's like
Even the word Afrobeat,
yeah.
I saw on Archivi.ng that it's been there since I think the
Yeah,
70s.
so like there's a very very specific, and it's funny because like there's a very very in 2020, yes I remember now, in 2020 NY Post published a story, and the headline was something about how Burna Boy took Afrobeat global. And I found like a newspaper page from Observer, from the Observer in the 70s, where it says the headline is like how Afrobeat swept London. And there was Fela, and the wildest part, right beside Fela, was Burna Boy's grandfather.
Wow.
Right. So like stories, you enter a room, right? And you, to be very, very honest, when people know where they're coming from, there's like you move differently. You enter a room and someone is like, hey, like my grandfather, what are you talking about? My grandfather was here. Like,
Yeah.
what are you telling me? Like every sentient being is only as sentient as an awareness of itself, right?
Okay.
And awareness is grounded in knowledge. And if and knowledge is grounded in memory, right? And so if you have no memory, like what are you? Does that make sense?
It does. It's
Um,
like the
yeah, so it's like a thing is only as sentient as an awareness of itself. And I think that's one of the things that stresses me the most about the technology ecosystem in Nigeria, is that I know more about like the Mark Zuckerberg myth than Demola Adikomo, for example. And this dude who started out just fixing computers as punishment went on to build one of the earliest networking businesses in Nigeria, built the like inter-office networking, like wider area networking, connecting some of the first computers between the island and mainland, which was a big deal.
Sounds like a big deal.
Do you understand? Like none of us were born. Working with banks to execute like cards. So it's like someone comes and says, oh, but like if you had the stories and the context, you're able to not make the same mistakes.
Right.
One of the things he mentioned, for example, is that when you're doing business with the government, when your business is aligned with the government, it will always feel like you're floating. Like everything goes all soft. But if the business's priorities change, like if the business changes, you just almost always become screwed. And that's why Dangote's like longevity strategy for business is always be aligned with the government. He doesn't pretend about it. And he learned that from his uncle, Dan Tata. Always be aligned with the Dan Tata. Like this is the Granite Pyramids family. Right. Yeah, so it's a lot of those things for why stories are, I guess, important. But I think, to be honest, I also just really like gist.
Yeah. At its core.
Yeah.
That's funny
I
because
also just really like gist.
after the in-depth thing, you're like, okay, just like
I
gist.
like gist like mad.
But it did get me thinking though about the mythology of things. I don't know if you've come across this book, or I mean, you'd have definitely seen it. The Hero's Journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fundamental, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like the steps, and you see it across
Yeah,
different myths, religions, even in actual people's lives,
Yeah.
where you know that okay, something didn't happen for you. So in
Yeah.
your head, subconsciously, you're thinking this is the foundation
Yeah.
for a big
I think a principle I fundamentally believe in as a person is that, like, sometimes there's a reach in it sometimes, but it's that everything is an arc.
Yeah.
You can almost always, like, if you just zoom out a little. The problem is that as human beings, our reptilian brains, we are just very, very, very stuck in the present.
Moments, yeah.
But like if you zoom out, you can almost always see like the patterns. Yeah. So like when you look at the F1 movie, for example, like it's a very, very fundamental organizational theory framework, which is that all teams go through an evolutionary system. There's a forming stage when the team comes together. There's a storming stage when the team is struggling and navigating how to find a balance. There's a norming stage when the team finds a chemistry. There's a performing stage when they're flying, and there's an adjourning stage when the team has to dismantle. And that's F1. That's F1. That's Avengers, the first Avengers movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I hear it though. So basically, from what we've said now, is these stories,
Yeah.
this history, is what's keeping. No, not what's keeping, but if it's something we prioritize, especially within the Nigerian context,
Yeah.
keeping these stories alive, keeping our history, it serves as like a foundation for us to
It's
do
easy foundation.
more,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yeah.
where we are now, even though things are way better than they were, if everybody's aware that okay, this thing was done this way before, let's try and do it this way now, so that you're not it's that thing
Repeating the
basically.
same thing.
Yeah, it's that thing basically where people, where they say learn from somebody who has gone through it all, right? Instead of being in your own corner, starting to do everything by yourself.
Yeah.
And so with history, I want to talk about archiving,
Okay.
right? As an infrastructure.
Yeah.
You've already given us some context into why you've started it, right? But I want you to talk us through like what you've seen doing it, right? Because like you've said, it's necessary for us to keep this history alive,
Yeah.
for us to keep telling these stories. So what have you seen in the process of, building and archiving?
So I've seen that we are not special. That's the first thing. Like it's really, in a weird way, it's very comforting. Because it means that like my foolishness is not unprecedented in the history of foolishness, for example. Maybe if I just knew who else was foolish, I'd be less foolish today. But I will still be foolish. I cannot escape it. We cannot escape that foolishness.
Thing is part of our growth.
Yeah. I think one of the strongest themes that have emerged is that on Twitter now, the archiving team does this thing a lot where when something is happening, it does dig out something from the archives and just share it.
I've seen a couple of those.
Yeah, I'm always as surprised to see them as everybody else. Like, wow, so this happened. But there's almost always someone in the quotes, in the comments, or just saying something like, "Oh, the more things change, the more things change," because I mean, the more they stay the same. It's like so many things are so cyclical. It's such a fundamental fabric of society, and in any context, in any world, and in everything. So it's actually one of the ways we want to spend a lot of the next year trying to do. Like, where did Nigeria learn from its mistakes, and where does it continue to repeat them? Right?
Yeah.
For example, we started playing crashes a lot in Nigeria. It was ridiculous. And then
all of a sudden we stop hearing about
Civil Aviation Authority. People did not have it. It was great. I learned this from someone, Immaculata. And that just... So we broke a cycle.
Right.
So it is possible to break cycles in Nigeria. It was so common in the early 90s. Lots of cases of like drugs hurting people, like fake drugs. And then they just reduced because of Dora.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the biggest things that I continue to stumble on, just all the interesting ways that we can break those cycles.
Okay. So in tech, right? The common string in startup storytelling, right? We've kind of, I don't know if you've noticed this, but I think a lot of major startups kind of tell stories in the same language in a way that's easy. And, so as not to, because with tech, you can go in and talk about because the lines, what is powering this somewhere was that, but the storytelling where you see narratives, trying to actually communicate to the user, right, is very broken down to the simplest language. So I want to find out from you as, someone who has been in here the longest, a long time. I want to find out, what are we actually getting right? What are you seeing with the storytelling, especially in tech and in tech media?
I think a sign that a story is, I think that a sign that like whatever narrative an organization has is really sticking is how it makes people feel. So it's implicit in that, like, even when you're not telling it, like the brand is telling itself, it helps be able to shape perception and all of that. It's one thing for people to know that they're having downtimes and they're struggling with the products. It's another thing for people to know that they are participating in a very, very difficult, rough patch in the company that the company is trying to fix. It really, really changes the relationship between the person and the problem.
Right.
And so that's why I think it's always be critical for like companies to actively participate in shaping their own myth. We always all fall into the trap of the great talking head format.
What's the great talking head format?
It's just, hi, my name is, I work at Wazobia. So when I started using you know what I'm talking about? It's the same act.
Like same format, basically.
Establish tension as the cold open. Start the episode, they introduce themselves, establish your problem, talk about the solution, talk about the future. Like same arc.
Okay.
And I know why we do make those videos. As someone who makes them, who has made them in the past, I know why we make them. We have a shit ton of deliverables. Right? But I think the reason why we continue to make them is that, like, as the people who make those stories, we are not unreasonable enough in the companies we work at.
Yeah.
What do I mean? It's like deep in your heart, as a person who makes stories in a company, you know you could be writing your film. You know in your heart of hearts that you want to write films. Use the company money. Use company money to do it.
Man,
See, it's actually interesting. I'm saying this as someone who, quite frankly, has succeeded multiple times in scamming my organizations into driving my selfish agenda. So for example, I like, let me use say Piggyvest.
Okay.
Right? I like Piggyvest because
I think they're one of the best out there.
Yeah, and first of all, shout out to Daniel Rubo. I think Daniel is, I can't immediately think of anybody when it comes to like stories, content. I can't immediately think of anybody that I rate more than Daniel. And I think a big part of why Daniel was, what Daniel like was able to put together at Piggyvest. I mean, of course, not only him. There's all kinds of people on the team that he has to work with. It's also like they were open. It also, I guess, it also helps that like Odun fundamentally is a storyteller. Like Odun used to, when I first knew of Odun, she used to write articles at Zikoko. So I think it helps that there was already a belief in its purpose and usefulness, even if it was not immediately clear.
Okay.
Right? Because one of the things that the business side doesn't always understand about storytelling is that, like, storytelling is literally a lever in brand building, and brand building is myth making, and myth making takes time. It's like with art, right? Like a piece of art is only as valuable, is like there are two things that make art valuable: technique and context. Right? If there is no context, and context requires time, if there's no context, nothing. Right? There was a time when people would have panic about losing their money, right? And Piggyvest will have to, hey, no, your money is hey. But now it's like, once there's panic, there are all kinds of random people on the internet saying, no, nothing will happen to the money, don't worry. Do you understand? And that's because of like a narrative that they have built over time.
Right.
And when I say narrative, I'm saying like, I think that fundamentally brand is what it does, what it says it does, and how it makes people feel. So if you're saying one thing, but you're doing another thing, right? They're going to drag the hell out of you, which is what one of the problems and stressors that Nigerian banks tend to have. Every time they do something really cool, there's always someone in the comments saying, "Okay, so where's my
Where's my
6.5?"
money?
And it's interesting because like, I think that sometimes even just outrightly saying, like, being honest just pays off. Because like, depending on the type of product you have, most people are not stupid. Anybody who, for example, uses like Flutterwave,
Right.
let's say maybe like for their business or for some critical part of their infrastructure, all things being equal, they have above average intelligence. And so, for example, it's like even the way you communicate to them that doesn't belittle their intelligence can make them see a potential pain point and still shalaye it away. And like when I think about like storytelling,
Right.
I think that fundamentally it's about like myth making. Like, how can it affect how people perceive this thing? And so for me now, one of my favorite examples in recent times is also like Money Point's informal reports. And it's because like it's about the informal economy, and it's a bloody report. Reports are like boring and tedious, but it also really reinforces something. It reinforces that Money Point cares about the informal economy.
Yeah.
Because no one else has an informal report, right? So I think there's a place where we literally say, you know what? Like, I think people that work in storytelling tend to be delusional, all things being equal. Like, if your storytellers are not delusional,
Enough.
like, it's like, you mean you're not course correcting them every time and telling them to calm down? You have a problem. So it's like, I feel like there's enough delusion to decide that this is the myth for like this organization. We'll still do the utilitarian stuff, which is testimonial videos that we all hate, right? But it's like, what are those like things that help people like say, my God, this product is showing me shege now, but I will be here when it stops showing me shege. Yeah. So that's how I think about like the importance and usefulness of like just storytelling.
Yeah.
I also think it is converting everyone into vehicles for your story and your narrative, right? So one of the things that I've learned looking from the tech about side is that and like it's a very, very interesting vicious cycle. Like startups are so bad at like telling their story, right? And that's the thing that media companies, that's the only thing media companies are good at. Media companies only is as good as the stories it can tell.
Yeah.
And so if you're so bad at telling a media company your story, and the media company takes what you said and just like goes off with one story, right? What happens is that you just look at the media company with suspicion, and then you go into hiding and never speak to them. And the thing about the media companies is that they have only one job, to tell stories. And so suddenly whatever scraps they can get,
Yes.
they start to piece it together. And this is the big problem that journalists always have with the people they cover. It's like once you just cover something that stresses them, it does disappear. And then the reporter still has to write, right? Or make videos and so on and so forth. So I think that like startups need to, and I'm also saying this knowing that like media companies, like even Tech About, like has made like some startups' lives hard. But the funny thing is that like that's also part of the job of the newsroom, right? But I think like looking inside Tech About is, I mean, it's like just a few weeks. Like just looking in, I think one of the things that's super clear is that like startups don't know how to like use these channels, including newsrooms, as vehicles for their own narrative, right? So for example, if you are Apple is an extreme and weird example, but it's the most obvious example. If you're Apple or you're Google, right? When you're launching a new product, you invite everyone. You invite a lot of the people that everyone goes to understand new technology.
Right.
You invite them. You do the talk and speech and drill the same idea into them over and over and over in clear, simple language. They take everything you said. They go and use the devices, like say MKBHD, and they hear the same ideas over and so when they're looking at the device, in a weird way, it is pushing them to those ideas that you are reinforced over and over and over. And they come on YouTube and they make videos. And that's why when a new device comes out, you watch like 5 videos.
Yeah.
Like sometimes the framing is the same. And it looks like it's some massive secret agenda where they give them script. No, they didn't. Someone just told them the same thing over and over and over again. And there's also this thing where like startups think that like media is not their job. And it's always funny because like there is no system of organization in the history of humanity that was functional without like its own narrative engine.
Right.
And so it feels like it's not just enough that you're doing the work. Like people need to know you are doing the work. People need to know how you're doing the work. People need to know how to think about the work.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we need more startups who take their stories and the narrative about them as seriously as they take product updates. Because like, and all of us have experienced this before. We all have friends who have shipped shitty stuff. But like we still like use this shitty thing because we're like, I know where this thing is going. Yeah. So I guess step one is storytellers get more selfish. And a big part of being selfish is understanding, knowing exactly what the kind of stuff you want to make, figuring out how to make that thing the business priority without coming off as selfish. Knowing how to like even use other channels to drive your narrative, the newsrooms. The thing about a journalist, for example, is that a journalist has to journal, right? So sometimes now, right? And banks are very good at this. Banks, if a bank should ship a thing that makes this thing go from this to this, they'll do press release. Startups is like, bend down and grind. Okay, continue. Do you understand? And sometimes it's as little as actually just picking up the phone and telling the journalist that, I'm demoing this new tool. Let me take you out to lunch and show you. As human beings, first of all, it's free food, right? It's
Already
lunch.
Yeah.
It's not like he's hungry, but it's like,
why pass up free food?
do you understand? And then stomach is full, and then start to show this person inside like, and they're like, They're going to, when their editor asks them, what story are you working on? They're going to say, and you didn't bribe them. You didn't say they're stupid. You didn't call them a blog. Because there's also this thing where startups, it's like a slur. It's like, oh, you are behaving like blogs. Okay. Okay. Yeah. So I think I'm also going to say that like a lot of this is a vicious cycle in the sense that there is a mistrust with how to collaborate with media. Because like media has also given like companies hell. Media have always given companies hell, but there's a reason why as a society we continue to need them. There's a reason why from a credibility standpoint, people believe what you're saying more when you're not the one saying it. So it's like like who do the people say I am? Like, do you understand? Like, like man could have just continued to like eat his own like narrative of himself, but he's like, no, who do people say I am? They say I'm the son of God. Yeah, right. So, and again, which is back to this thing, like these principles, they tend to be the same thing across
Right.
time, right? Um, yeah, I do think though that like 7 years ago, like largest employers of creatives were still agencies and newsrooms, right? I mean, startups are not employing enough creatives, like selling story and everything, but like startups are real contenders. Like every creative team has an external threat, which is another fintech come and poach their stuff to come and make. Hi, my name is videos. I think we could just be expanding our thinking of what a good story is. Could be a landing page. Could be like Stripe did this thing one time where I think they had a 99.99% uptime on Cyber Monday, and they made this gorgeous interactive page, and it was just a swell time. It just felt good, right? I guess it's also this thing where like an idea I've believed in for a very long time is that no matter the state a company is in, as long as it's thinking about its future, I think there are two teams must always protect: the R&D team, the team that is trying to invent the future, and the storytelling team, which is the team that continues to maintain the company law, like LORE, both externally and internally. Because like one of the things that I don't think we take seriously enough is even storytelling within the organization. Like if I was telling you now, for example, about like say unit 4. Unit 4 is I think it's a as far as I'm concerned, it's one of the critical aspects of like the flutter with myth, which is just Ted, Hamza, Nuji, and Nosa all lived in the same house.
Okay. I think you captured that in one of your stories.
Yeah. So it's like, for me, that's like critical, like myth. The Wendy Kandu video. But like, think of the fact that on evenings when everybody's working late and everybody's stressed, and someone else starts gisting, that makes everybody locking back. Like the stories that we tell when we're exhausted in the evening, it's different in whether we pack our bag and go home or whether we lock in. Right? And so it's like, what are the stories that even within the company we are telling ourselves, right? I remember sometime last year, he didn't even clock it. So I'd overheard Tomoa, right? He was like, someone was saying something on a call, and someone called a number, and the number the person called was like Big Cabal's revenue for all of 2018. And the person was giving day 5 updates. I'm like, do you realize what I just heard? That this was your revenue in this year. This was your revenue on day 5 of the month. I was like, oh shit, wow. Wow. And he just locked it again. Do you understand? Like, I really think that like the stories we tell ourselves is different between lock in or like tap out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, something I think would be very interesting is even like from like a myth making law standpoint. Again, still part of this narrative thing is go to your alumni network, invite them to every other month, every other week, come and talk about when people were building these products. Come and gist. Just hear, let people hear stories and gist. And just like,
yeah. A company that does that well is Nike. I think before you start working, if they employ you, they give you the book that Femi and I wrote about the whole thing.
Shoe Dog.
Shoe Dog.
It's fire. my favorite thing about Shoe Dog is that it just reinforces the idea that a lot of the best ideas that came out of Nike did not start from Phil Knight. So if you remember, I don't know if you remember the book properly, but Phil Knight, he had a day job. There was this other guy that he hired
Yeah.
who was always writing letters and like parrying, like very passionate. Because like Phil Knight was not as locked in as he was. He was the last to buy into the Nike logo. He was like, and they're like, nah, this thing just works. I was like, okay, yeah. Like that's one of my favorite ideas from that book. But when you read that book and resume at Nike, you feel in your heart of hearts they are standing on the shoulders of giants, and you're correct. One very random thing I've seen in multiple companies. If you make a really good, people in the company did this video and it travels and HR puts out job openings shortly after, it just blows up. I've seen it multiple times. Like it's like magic. It's like, oh, you mean this? Sign me up. Like, yeah. I really think that we talk a lot about like business strategy and it's important.
I mean,
but I think that like it is super critical for organizations to also invest in narrative. I think this book is a very small book, but it does a good job of presenting a strong framework to think about the elements of a great myth. And the book is called Primal Branding. It's like all great myths, like every great myth has a couple of artifacts. There's a ritual, for example. Every episode of MKBHD's videos ends with talk to you on the next one. Peace. Every single episode. Once I just get there, even me said they follow the peace. Right? And we all have those things in our lives where we know when it has happened. We know that every single Sabina's video is going to end with black and white. Like those small rituals, those familiar things, they are actually extremely critical. And so it's like what are the familiar rituals that you are cultivating within a world, right? Even for your audience, for all of those things, right? There's almost always a symbol. Like there's a person who embodies that brand. And so I know people always say, oh yeah, like I think it is worth investing in building the brand of certain types of people, right? Because like those people need to embody that thing,
right?
But it can't just be any tacky thing. It has to align with like what it's trying to say. And a lot of the time when people start companies, for example, the companies, quite frankly, tends to be an extension of how they see the world, to be honest, right? An approach. So yeah, there are a couple of, if you check primal branding, there's a list. I feel like if you check ChatGPT and say what are the elements of primal branding, they even give you the list. But I think it's a small book. I think everyone should read it.
That's something for the house. Thank you very much for coming on board.
Happy to be here.
Taking us through storytelling. And if you guys didn't get that, he's an amazing storyteller. From this, what is it? Is it an hour that we're going to give them? Then I'm sorry. We didn't do our job well. If you like what you saw and heard, like, share, comment, subscribe. We'll see you next time here at the Wave Podcast.